I've been studying Chinese for years now and can now read books in Chinese without issue. In order to be able to do so, I had to learn thousands of Chinese characters. One huge mistake I made along the way was trying to master those characters by solely reading as much as possible. In this video, I'll explain why reading alone is not enough to master Chinese characters and what you should be doing instead. Now let me start with stating the obvious. Reading does indeed supplement your Chinese character knowledge and is the best way to steadily improve your Chinese vocabulary. I am in no way saying that reading is not useful or should be avoided. However, in my experience of spending over 1,000 hours reading thousands of pages of Chinese text, reading will only allow you to indirectly reinforce your knowledge of Chinese characters. If your goal is mastery of Chinese characters, reading alone is not enough. The reason is that what you improve directly while reading is not your understanding of characters in isolation, but instead your recognition of words. It may surprise you, but one can be very familiar with a word in Chinese, but not necessarily with the characters within it. I can in fact demonstrate this with English. There are many words we know quite well, but may not know the roots, suffixes, or prefixes within them. Consider this root that is present in some fairly common English words. Vor. There's a good chance you don't know what this root means. At least I did not when I looked up this example. However, if I show you the words that contain it, voracious, carnivore, herbivore, omnivore, it then becomes clear that vor means to eat or to devour. You can probably recognize these words and you likely recognize the root when alongside the words. But recognizing the root by itself in isolation is a completely different affair. Chinese is the same. This is because the way that characters combine to form words in Chinese is conceptually similar to the way roots, suffixes, and prefixes combine in English to form words. To demonstrate once more in Chinese, if I saw either of these characters by themselves, I may have difficulty recalling the meaning or pronunciation of either of them. This is because both of these characters are fairly rare, and also almost never seen by themselves in isolation. However, if I were to see them combine, I would instantly recognize the word that they form, ganlan, which means olive. So if I were reading some text that contains the above word within it, that will reinforce in my head the meaning and or pronunciation of the word, and at no point will it reinforce the meaning and or pronunciation of the individual characters themselves per se. This is because when one reads Chinese, one mainly is focused on the words, not the characters. This is the same as in English. When we see the word carnivore, we in no way think in our head, oh yes, this has the root vor that means devour, and the prefix carni, which means meat, which when combined forms the meaning ... No, we simply think something that eats meat and are done with it. Chinese is no different. However, you may still be wondering why Chinese character mastery is important. After all, we don't really master roots, prefixes, or suffixes in English, as I have just demonstrated, but get along just fine. The reason why character mastery is so important is because Chinese characters are not phonetic in practice. This means that in order to pronounce characters correctly in isolation, in names, or in new words we come across, we must master its precise pronunciation. Going back to our previous example, in English, if we see vor either by itself or in a new word, we can more or less pronounce it without issue, even if we do not recognize what it means. This is because English uses a phonetic script. But if you see a Chinese character by itself that you don't recognize, you will not be able to pronounce it, which means that if you come across new words that contain it or see it within a name, you will be unable to pronounce them. If you, like me, view correct pronunciation of characters, words, and names to be an essential part of Chinese fluency, then you will see that mastery of Chinese characters is more or less required. So if simply reading a lot isn't the way to master Chinese characters, then what is? Well, let's start with what mastering Chinese characters even means in practice. For me, it means the following. Knowing the meaning of the character in isolation, knowing the pronunciation of the character in isolation, and knowing how the character combines with other characters to form words in practice. So whatever system or application you use should reinforce all of those 3 points. In my experience, it also should 1. Require you to type out the meaning and pronunciation of each character when you do reviews. This ensures that you really know them. 2. Use component-based mnemonics to make the character easy to remember. You can see our video about doing this for more information. I'll link it below. 3. Teach characters according to how useful they are. 4. Use spaced repetition to help you spend less time reviewing and more time learning. Unfortunately, when I started learning Chinese characters, no application existed that did all of the above. So my brother and I, who are both software engineers, created our own web application that does all of that and more. It's called HanziHero. It teaches the components and sounds that make up a character and combines those into a mnemonic that will help you remember it. After you learn the character, it will regularly quiz you on its meaning and pronunciation, requiring you to type both in. The characters are taught in an optimal order using our own custom ordering algorithm, ensuring that you learn the most important ones first. We also teach the words that best illustrate the core meaning and pronunciation of the character, reinforcing that knowledge and showing how the character functions in practice. Best of all, we have a generous free tier that allows anyone to start learning completely free of charge. The majority of the 4,000 characters I know today that allows me to easily read Chinese I learned through HanziHero. If it worked for me, there's a good chance it'll help you too. I hope this video helped you understand why reading alone is not enough for learning Chinese characters and what sort of system you need to truly master them. If it was useful, let me know with a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos about how to learn Chinese. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.